this wraps this first period. I'm Cameron.
And I'm Joe, and welcome to the 40s.
Now, for our first topic, World War II and the
The late 1930s and early 1940s saw a rise of dictatorships and nationalism across Europe. The Treaty of Versailles left Germany in economic depravity, its people resentful and willing to accept anyone who could aid them. Adolf Hitler, a returning World War I veteran, joined the Nationalist Socialist German Workers' Party, aka the Nazi Party, upon his return to Germany. Through powerful oratory skills, he rose to become the group's leader quickly and established the group as a political power. Through a belief in extreme nationalism and racial superiority, Hitler rose to become Prime Minister of Germany and quickly integrated the Nazis into it. This became the Third Reich, also known as the Third German Empire. To the east, Joseph Stalin of the young Soviet Union had quickly risen to and consolidated his power. After the Communist Revolution and the death of Lenin, Stalin, whose name means man of steel, began to transform the country. Aiming to turn the Union into a world industrial power, Stalin did not hesitate to kill millions through food shortages and assassinations to secure his rule. Totalitarian government was firmly established. To the south, Italy faced strikes and other economic issues. Fearing a communist takeover, the upper middle classes called for a stronger leader. Answering the call, Benito Mussolini established himself and gained the people's favor, thus creating the Fascist Party. In Spain, military leaders led by General Francisco Franco rebelled against the democratic government and attempted to take over. With aid and equipment from Italy and Germany, rebels took over despite Soviet aid to loyalists. Similarly, Japanese military officials who shared Germany's desire for more living space for their booming populations launched a surprise attack on Manchuria in 1931, completely taking over the region. This region would remain under Japanese control until the end of World War II. American citizens, still reeling from the death profits by large banks post-World War I, wished to avoid war at all costs. Isolationism reigned supreme. Regardless, the U.S. federal government sent arms and aid to countries such as China to help push back invading countries such as Japan. In 1937, Germany annexed Austria and peacefully took over most of Czechoslovakia. Later, in 1939, German forces poured into the last remaining parts of neutral Czechoslovakia and completely took over the region. Next, Germany turned to Poland, citing the need to liberate its abused people of German heritage. With an agreement with Russia in place, Germany invaded and split most of Poland with Russia. This began World War II. The U.S. was later brought into the war when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor.
And now for the events on Pearl Harbor. Many things occurred at the beginning of World War II, but the attack on Pearl Harbor was the final straw. Tension started in July of 1941 when Hadi Toho attacked French military bases in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. The U.S. protested by cutting off all trade with Japan. This included the embargoment of oil, a resource Japan couldn't fight without. On December 6th, Americans decoded intercepted message saying that Japan would reject all peace proposals, a proclamation of war. The next morning, 180 warplanes from the Japanese and a bomber attacked Pearl Harbor. In an hour and a half, 2,403 Americans were killed, and 1,178 were injured. They destroyed 21 naval ships and 300 American aircrafts. This is a proclamation of war. And now for Joe.
We've all heard of the widespread chaos and genocide we know as the Holocaust in Europe. Nazi Party leader and Führer of Germany, Adolf Hitler, over the past few months has been sending non-Aryans, majority of them Jews, to concentration camps around Europe. He claims to be helping the people out and educating them, but it's pretty much a mass murder of all non-Aryan people. Months ago, we reported Nazi stormtroopers raiding Jewish businesses and houses in a night we called Kristallnacht, and it is now estimated that 1 million Jews are dead and 5 million more are predicted to die by the time Hitler's plan ends. Gypsies, Freemasons, Jehovah's Witnesses, disabled, Spanish Republicans, and many other minorities are the targets of these raids and deaths. An increased rate is going to take place with Hitler's final solution plan. When we find out more, we'll get back to you. And now on to Jacob with fashion.
Women's fashion of the 40s would include a full one-piece dress that would go all the way down to the knees, supported with a jacket that would wrap around the waist. For a day out, they would also carry around a small handbag as well as a hat. Swimsuits during the 40s became a big trend. For women, they would wear a full one-piece outfit with some ruffled areas near the legs. Bathing suits came in one-piece sets that covered the chest and the legs. Suits for the men, they would include a different shade of regular suits that came in blue, brown, or black. These were the suits used for the typical workday. They would either be supported with a briefcase, a tie, or a neckerchief. They would also wear a hat such as a fedora and other types of boaters or other hats. They would also keep a slick back hair to keep a business-like impression. Men and women would also wear wingtip shoes. These were the shoes of the decade because of the jazz era. Zoot suits or baggy suits would be worn by men to keep a loose feel whenever you are dancing or hearing jazz music. These would be worn at parties or at other events that would have this type of music. Women and immigrants during this decade were working in the factories because of World War II. They would wear these one-piece jumpsuits that would protect them from the workplace and keep a cool fit because of the loose bottoms and a loose top.
Thank you, Jacob. The 32nd President of the United States was FDR, or Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Born in New York and serving from 1933 until his death in 1945, it is clear that he is one of America's greatest, being the only president to serve more than 2 terms. Roosevelt played a pivotal role in the world affairs, dealing with the World War and the start of communism. He also dealt with American economic depression and is best known for the New Deal program, an effort for economic relief and the reform of the government. After FDR's death in April, Truman succeeded to become the 33rd President of the United States. Truman wrapped up the World War with the Allies, resolving everything except the tensions with the Soviets. These tensions grew into the Cold War. Truman is best known for the passing of the Marshall Plan, a $13 billion budget to rebuild Europe, and the Truman Doctrine to contain all communism that was created under the United Nations. Both of these presidents dealt with economic pressures and wars, promoting worldwide freedom and shutting down growing evils such as Nazis and communism. Now I'm going to pass you off to Joe for Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
As the War in the Pacific raged on, the U.S. began to win key battles in Iwo Jima and Okinawa. The U.S. warned Japan of prompt and utter destruction if it did not surrender at once. On August 6th, B-29 bomber Inoda Gray dropped Little Boy on Japanese military installation Hiroshima. 43 seconds later, the entire city was turned to dust. The Japanese refused to surrender, so a few days later, the U.S. dropped Fat Man on Nagasaki. On August 15th, the Japanese surrendered informally. Later that year, the Japanese formally surrendered aboard the USS Missouri, officially ending the war in the Pacific.
If you have nothing to do tonight, some alternatives with your family is you can go play board games at the house. You can just have like a chill time. You can play chess, checkers, or entertain the kids with dominoes, marbles, or the new building sets called erector sets. For a day out, you can go swimming at the beach or at the public pools. Of course, you can also have your own pool, so you can have a good time with your family. And for some like typical Sunday evenings, you can have some cruise times in the new 1940 Chevy. You can either go to a drive-in movie or just drive around, whatever you prefer. And for movies, they were becoming a wide popular hit, so either go to a drive-in movie or you can go to the movie theaters. Either one would be fine. Either way, you would stay entertained. And for a night of relax, you can either sit by the radio, listen to some broadcasts, or listen to the new jazz music. And either way, you can be active from sitting around, or you can just do whatever you prefer from like movies, driving, or whatever you want. All right. And now Alex with the beginning of the Cold War.
Thank you, Jacob. On August 6, 1945, the United States dropped the first of 2 atomic bombs on Japan, leading to the eventual end of World War II. Out of the ashes, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as global economic superpowers. Being a communist state, the Soviet Union sought to convert many of the war-ravaged and economically vulnerable European nations into its doctrine. Fearing this, the The U.S. was quick to send foreign aid to these nations to prevent the spread of communism. An iron curtain was formed across Europe, an unseen line between capitalism and communism. On March 12, 1947, President Truman promised to aid any nation resisting communism. This became known as the Truman Doctrine. The Cold War.